My wife called me selfish and irresponsible, served me divorce papers on our anniversary, moved in with another man, then came crawling back when she saw my success. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. And I'm gonna try to make sense of it even though my head's still spinning. My wife, Sarah, and I have been hitched for 8 years, and our anniversary was just last month. I figured we'd celebrate at this fancy restaurant, but instead of a watch or cologne, she hands me an envelope. Inside? Divorce papers. She just sat there, cool as a cucumber, while I'm losing it, trying to process what's happening. I keep replaying that moment, the waiter asking if we want dessert, and me just staring blankly while Sarah orders tiramisu like everything's normal. I'm left wondering what went wrong. Backing up a bit, about 6 months ago, my company got bought out, and we middle management types were basically shown the door unless we took a 20% pay cut. I'd been there for 12 years, and though we'd have to tighten our belts, I figured we'd manage. Sarah, who makes decent money as a dental hygienist, was not on board. She was worried about the impact on our 5-year plan, savings, and what people would think if we had to downsize. We had a big blowout over it, with her calling me selfish and me saying she was only worried about money. She stormed off for 2 days, but I figured she'd come around. So, I took the pay cut. But instead of seeing it as a wise move, she got more resentful, comparing me to her friends' husbands who are climbing the career ladder. Then, I started thinking about starting my own consulting gig. When I brought it up, Sarah shut it down, calling it too risky. But I kept at it quietly, lining up clients. When I was ready to make the leap, I showed her my plan and contracts, expecting her to be stoked. Instead, she flipped out, saying I was gambling with our future and that she couldn't trust me. After that, things got ugly between us. We argued for hours, saying things we probably shouldn't have. Eventually, she said she wished she'd never married me, and I told her maybe she should look for someone else if she felt that way. She took off, and after that, we were just existing under the same roof like strangers. So, basically, things at home had gotten super tense. We couldn't even coordinate our schedules or handle bills without it feeling like walking on eggshells. The vibe was toxic, so I ended up spending loads of time at Starbucks or any coffee shop just to escape. On a brighter note, my business was actually kicking off. In just the first month, I was almost making what I did at my old job, even after taking a pay cut. By month 2, my earnings were better than my old salary. But here's the kicker, Sarah didn't seem to care. She was too caught up being mad at me to notice. I kept hoping she'd come around and see our finances were solid again, but nope, she distanced herself even more, working late and hanging out with friends without me. I started getting suspicious but told myself not to overthink it. I just hoped giving her some space would help us figure things out. Now, let me tell you about our anniversary because it was a major turning point. Thinking about it still makes me mad, but I need to get it off my chest. Sarah suggested we revisit this fancy restaurant where we celebrated our first anniversary. I thought maybe she wanted to talk things over and patch things up. She looked stunning, and for the first time in ages, she seemed cheerful. I thought maybe she noticed how well my business was doing and was ready to admit I hadn't made a bad choice after all. We ordered wine, appetizers, and had a nice chat about normal stuff like work and her family. I started to relax and remembered why I fell for her in the first place. Then, out of nowhere, during the main course, she pulls out a manila envelope, saying it's an anniversary gift. I thought it might be concert tickets, a sweet card, or a photo of us from happier times. I was really touched she got me something since she'd been pretty distant lately. But when I opened it and saw divorce papers with my name filled in, it felt like my world collapsed. I looked at her, and she was sitting there with this odd smile, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. I asked her what this meant, and she casually said it was easier this way than having a big fight. She'd already spoken to a lawyer, figured out what was fair, and I was just stunned. She said she started considering it seriously when I took the pay cut, but quitting my job without telling her sealed the deal for her. Even when I mentioned the business was now thriving, she shrugged it off, saying it wasn't about money anymore, but about trust and compatibility. The whole scene was so surreal, and I kept hoping she'd say it was a joke, but she just continued eating, talking about the divorce logistics like it was a weekend plan. I was so upset, I ended up raising my voice, asking how she could do this on our anniversary. She called it poetic justice because it was where our marriage began and now where it'd end. After that awkward interaction with the waiter, I left money for the bill and stormed out, sitting in my car for hours trying to make sense of it all. By the time I got home, she was already there, packing her suitcase, saying she'd stay with her sister while we figured things out. Her calm demeanor made me realize she'd probably been planning this for a while, and I hadn't seen it coming at all. But wait, it got even crazier. About a week later, my business landed a massive contract, tripling my income. Out of sheer habit, I told Sarah about it. I called her, and she actually asked to meet for coffee, saying she'd been rethinking things and maybe rushed into the divorce decision. She missed me and our life together and wanted to know if we could work things out. I was relieved because, despite everything, I still loved her. But the timing seemed off, so I started asking questions about her change of heart and if it had anything to do with my business booming. She got defensive, insisting it wasn't about money, but realizing how much she valued our relationship. Still, something was off, so I pressed her for details. That's when she broke down and admitted she'd been seeing someone else, this guy Derek from her work. They'd been talking about her marriage issues, and it developed into something more. She claimed it wasn't serious, but the emotional cheating hurt just as much. She insisted she only got close to Derek out of loneliness and anger but now wanted to fix things with us. But I was too hurt and angry to think straight. I told her she couldn't just waltz back now that my business was doing well, especially after she'd checked out and started seeing someone else. So, the back and forth with her went on for like 2 hours. She was crying, begging me to give her another shot, while I was still trying to wrap my head around the fact that she'd been lying to me for months. It seemed like she filed for divorce only because she thought she had this dude Derek lined up as a backup. Now that I'm doing well again, she's having second thoughts and trying to figure out which option is better. I finally told her I needed some time to think and couldn't decide when I was so upset and angry. She said she got it and hoped we could try counseling or something because she still loved me, and she just freaked out and made some bad calls. She thought we could fix things if we both wanted to. That was 3 weeks ago, and since then, she's been blowing up my phone with calls and texts, wanting to meet up, try couples therapy, or just talk about what we both want. I've been dodging her because I'm still processing everything and trying to figure out if there's anything left to save in this mess. The thing that bugs me the most is how scheming and sneaky it all feels looking back. I keep wondering if she ever truly loved me or if it was all about the lifestyle and security I offered. Maybe she was ready to ditch me for something better but now wants back in since my business is thriving. My friends are split on this. Some say marriage is tough, everyone screws up, and if she's really sorry and ready to put in the work, maybe we can move past this. Others think what she did is unforgivable and that I should find someone who won't bail as soon as things get rocky. My sister thinks Sarah is a gold digger who showed her true colors when my success seemed shaky, and I'd be nuts to take her back. But my mom says I should at least give counseling a shot because 8 years of marriage is worth fighting for, and people do dumb things when they're scared or stressed over money. I'm at a loss, bouncing between wanting to give her another chance and feeling foolish for trusting someone who could be so cold about our marriage. I wonder if who she is now was who she was all along, and the person I thought I married was just an act when things were looking up. So, my question is, am I the bad guy if I refuse to work things out after everything that's happened and just go through with the divorce, even though she wants to stay married now? Or should I give her another shot and try to rebuild our relationship, even though I might never trust her fully again? I'm all tangled up in this mess and feel like I need an outside perspective because everyone around me has opinions, and I'm tired of going around in circles in my own mind about what the right thing is. Update number 1. A lot of folks suggested I dig more into this Derek dude and the timeline of when their thing started, to see if Sarah's been planning the divorce longer than she admitted. Initially, I wasn't sure I wanted to know because the truth can hurt, but I realized I needed clarity to make a decision about our future. So, I did some digging. Turns out, Sarah's been way more dishonest than I thought. Her whole story about getting spooked when I took the pay cut and then panicking when I started my business was just a load of nonsense designed to make me feel sorry for her and take her back. Here's what I found out, and I'm still kicking myself for buying into her lies for so long. But I guess when you love someone, you make excuses and ignore red flags. I looked through our credit card statements and bank records to find any charges or transactions that might hint at what Sarah was up to. Right from the start, I found stuff that didn't match her timeline with Derek. There were charges from 6 months ago at restaurants we never visited together, movie tickets, and even a hotel charge from 4 months ago. This was around the time I was contemplating starting my business, and she was supposedly just anxious about our finances and hadn't met Derek yet, according to her story. Then I checked her phone records through our family plan and saw she'd been texting Derek's number starting almost 7 months ago, right after I took the pay cut and way before she claimed they were discussing marriage issues at work. The texts ramped up over time, and by the time I quit my job to start the business, they were texting hundreds of times a day and having long phone calls, all while she was giving me the cold shoulder, acting like I'd wrecked our marriage with financial irresponsibility. Here's the kicker that really made me feel sick and realize how manipulative she's been. I can't believe I missed it earlier. I guess I was too focused on trying to save our marriage to notice the glaring signs. I also found emails on my home computer, where she'd apparently saved passwords in my Chrome browser, and forgot to delete them. These emails were between Sarah and a divorce lawyer dating back 5 months ago, which means she was already considering ending our marriage before I even mentioned starting my own business. Definitely before any of the big fights about my career moves and financial planning. The emails show she was asking about protecting her assets, potential settlements, and how my reduced income would impact spousal support. It was clear she'd been planning this divorce long before she claimed to have doubts about us. There's even an email where she asks the lawyer about the best timing to file papers, whether before or after our anniversary. The lawyer said timing isn't a legal issue but suggested considering the emotional impact on both parties. Sarah responded that she wanted to make sure I knew she was serious about the divorce. Reading those emails felt like a knife to the heart because it showed the anniversary dinner wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision or a reaction to financial stress, but a planned move meant to hurt me and show she was done with our marriage. But wait, it gets worse because I also found evidence she'd been planning to move in with Derek for months and even looked at apartments with him. Derek had already put a deposit down on a place before she ever served me with divorce papers and said she was staying with her folks. So, I was driving by the address from the lease Sarah and I had signed, and guess what? I saw her car parked there. I knocked on the door, and when Derek answered, he looked like he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He tried to shut the door on me, but I pushed past him and saw Sarah chilling on the couch in her robe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon like she'd just rolled out of bed. Things got pretty heated after that. It was probably the nastiest argument I've ever had. I said some things I'm not proud of, but I was so mad and hurt, I just lost it and started yelling about how they'd been lying to me and planning all this behind my back. Sarah tried to play innocent, claiming she only moved in with Derek after we split and that it was a short-term thing until she figured out her next steps. But I had the lease papers, emails with the lawyer, and phone records that proved she'd been plotting this for a while, way before she admitted having doubts. Derek kept trying to butt me out, saying this was between me and Sarah and that he wasn't involved. I called him out for texting my wife while we were still married and living together. He was definitely involved and hiding behind his cowardice. The whole thing escalated with shouting, name-calling, and Sarah breaking down in tears, claiming she never wanted it to happen like this. She said she was confused and scared but still loved me and wanted to make things right. I told her there's no way you accidentally plan a divorce and move in with another guy if you love your husband. Eventually, Derek threatened to call the police on me, and I said, do it. Because I wanted them to know about his affair with my wife and how he was helping her plan the divorce. But Sarah begged me not to make things worse and promised we could talk privately if I left Derek out of it. I left, but I was fuming, sitting in my car for almost an hour, trying to wrap my head around all the deceit from someone I loved and trusted. I reflected on how many times she'd made me feel like I was the one going nuts or being paranoid for thinking something was up. Later that night, Sarah called me in tears, begging to explain everything. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear what story she'd come up with now that I knew the truth about her and Derek. We met up, and she immediately started apologizing, admitting she handled everything poorly. She said she was scared and confused about our marriage and her feelings for Derek and made a bunch of bad decisions she couldn't undo. She confessed to talking with a lawyer and apartment hunting, supposedly to explore her options. But according to her, she was never really sure about leaving me until I quit my job without telling her. That, she said, was when she realized our values didn't align, and our marriage wouldn't work. Then she went on about how my successful business made her reevaluate things and that maybe she was wrong about my ability to take care of us. That's why she wanted to give us a second chance now that she saw what I was capable of. I asked her about the hotel receipts, the place with Derek, and all the lies she'd spun about the timeline. She broke down, admitting she'd been with Derek for months. She tried downplaying it, saying he was just a rebound because she felt disconnected from me and our marriage didn't mean anything compared to us. She insisted she really loved me, had made a big mistake, and wanted to fix things. Honestly, I felt sick hearing all this because it was either a lie or manipulation to get me to take her back. I saw right through it now that I knew the actual timeline and how much planning went into her betrayal. I told her I couldn't trust anything she said because she'd lied for months. Even if she was sorry now, It seemed like she only wanted to reconcile because my business was booming and sticking with me was more financially beneficial than starting over with dear Eric, who probably didn't earn as much. She got defensive, saying it wasn't about money, but I reminded her that she only started reconsidering after I landed a big contract and my earnings shot up. That was a pretty big coincidence if her feelings were really about love, not money. We argued for another hour, and she kept begging for another chance, promising she'd dump dear Eric, go to counseling, and do whatever it took to rebuild our marriage. I told her I couldn't trust her after finding out everything she did and wasn't interested in being someone's fallback plan when their first choice didn't pan out. That was yesterday, and I've been mulling it over, trying to decide what to do next. The more I think about it, the more convinced I am that Sarah only wants me back because I'm making good money again. If my business tanked tomorrow, she'd probably run back to dear Eric or start searching for another option. I feel like such a fool for ever buying her story about being scared and making mistakes when the truth was, she was planning to leave me and had already moved on with someone else, only changing her mind when she realized staying with me might be more profitable than divorcing and starting over. I wanted to update everyone who gave me advice because your comments helped me realize I needed to dig deeper instead of just accepting Sarah's version of events and feeling guilty about not giving her another chance. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow to protect my business assets and ensure Sarah doesn't get rewarded for her dishonesty and betrayal. I'm done trying to save a marriage with someone who clearly never valued or respected me the way I did her. So, to answer my original question, I definitely don't think I'm wrong for refusing to take Sarah back after everything she did. I'm sure I'm making the right choice by moving forward with the divorce and moving on with my life without someone who only wanted me for what I could provide. So, I've decided to focus on being my true self rather than just a safety net. Thank you all for the love and advice. I'll keep you posted after chatting with my lawyer about what's next. But for now, I'm all about my business and moving on without someone who's just using me as a backup plan. This is probably my last update unless something wild happens, but I wanted to share what went down after realizing what Sarah was really up to. I reached out to a divorce lawyer yesterday and we spent a couple of hours going through all the stuff I dug up about Sarah's timeline and her dealings with Derek. The lawyer said I've got a solid case showing she planned the divorce for a while and was cheating, which should help me when it comes to dividing stuff and spousal support. The lawyer also explained how to protect my business assets since most of my business's success happened after Sarah moved out and shacked up with Derek. This means she can't claim she helped me succeed, which she now wants a piece of. I felt pretty confident about having a solid plan to finally end this marriage. But get this, Sarah showed up at my place around noon, super upset, pleading with me not to go through with the divorce. She said she'd made a huge mistake and would do anything to fix things between us. Apparently, Derek had dumped her after I confronted them at the apartment. He didn't want the drama of divorcing and told her she had to sort her life out. Now, she's freaking out about losing both him and me. She kept saying I was the only one who ever loved her and begged me to forget about the lawyer, promising to make it up to me. I told her I appreciated her apology, but I can't trust her anymore after everything that's happened. I don't want a marriage with someone who only values me when they're out of options. She cried and claimed she'd made bad choices out of fear. But here's what sealed the deal for me: even now, when she's supposedly learned her lesson, she's still all about the money. She mentioned several times how great my business is going and how proud she was, trying to remind me of the cash I'm pulling in and the lifestyle we could have together. It was clear she was more interested in the financial security I provide than actually loving me for who I am. The final straw was when she said her sister pointed out how rare I am, both successful and a nice guy. Sarah shouldn't let that go, she said, because most women would be all over a guy who offers that kind of stability. That's when it hit me that her apology was really just about the money and she still didn't see the damage she'd done. I told her the divorce is happening, and she needs to figure out her life without relying on others for financial security. She got angry, calling me cruel for not forgiving her. She said everyone's entitled to a second chance and accused me of throwing away our 8 years of marriage out of pride. I stayed calm and said I'm not being spiteful. I'm just seeing her for who she is and I can't be with someone I can't trust. She made her choice when she planned to leave and move in with Derek. She left after threatening to fight me for half of everything, including my business. But my lawyer already prepped me for that possibility, and we documented everything. This morning, I got a text from her apologizing for getting angry and still hoping I'll change my mind. It's kinda sad because I think she genuinely believes she loved me, even though her actions said otherwise. I'm meeting with my lawyer again tomorrow to finalize the divorce paperwork. Honestly, I'm feeling relieved and optimistic because I know I'm making the right call, finally freeing myself from being manipulated into a relationship that wasn't what I thought it was.